You're on a silent.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm calling this meeting to order at 12:58 p.m. Julie Berkowitz, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Ogalla,
Here.
Berkowitz,
Here.
Brooks,
Yeah.
Bullock,
Here.
Butler,
Here.
Hickey,
Here.
Ortiz.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the approval of the minutes, can I please get a motion?
Oh.
Second.
Motion by Brooks, second by Berkowitz. Any discussion? If none, can I get a roll call, please?
Ogalla,
Yes.
Berkowitz,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hickey,
Yes.
Ortiz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we have our miscellaneous legislative reports. Take a look at those. Reach out with any questions. Old business, federal legislative update.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're in our new offices, so I wanted to make sure everything was set up correctly. Hi, everybody. KP Pratt with Smith Garson. Good afternoon. There's a lot going on in DC because today Congress has come back into session. So the House and the Senate are now back from August recess, and they have about 29 days or 30 days until the government runs out of funding on September 30th. The new fiscal year starts on October 1st. So they both, the House and the Senate, are going to be very busy trying to pass funding bills before then. If they don't, what's likely going to happen is there's going to be what's called a continuing resolution, which is short-term funding at the same funding levels. Or if that doesn't happen, then we're going to have a government shutdown. It's unclear whether either party wants that to happen. The president right now is okay with a continuing resolution because he received our funding increases earlier this year on things like border security, defense, et cetera, which are his top priorities. So we can expect a lot to happen this month. The tariff back and forth is still going on. India was hit with a 50% tariff increase on August 27th. And then I want to let you guys know that in the monthly report we sent, we did have a list of the bills that the Will County Board had as a priority in last year's federal agenda. So we're going to continue to keep a updated status update for you and things like that. But before I move on to any priorities that the board may have or the committee may have, is there any questions for us?
Any questions from committee members? Members of the public? Seeing none.
Great. So I know that as we've gone through the summer and we're working on your federal agenda, we are very cognizant of the fact that the committee wants us to provide a little more information on priorities to the county. So to that end, I'm hoping that the committee will be able to offer perhaps to the Chief of Staff Pelkey to provide us with priority issues that you'd like us to track, meet with members of Congress, meet with their staff, things like that, so we can make sure that we continue to update you and work on your priorities. So that's just kind of an open invitation. Would love to hear more either today or, like I said, feel free to communicate to us through Chief of Staff Pelkey, but we just want to make that offer.
Thank you so much. Julie, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chair Ortiz. I'm just wondering if the legislative committee could get a summary of your biweekly calls with the county executive to discuss federal issues. That would allow us to all be on the same page.
I'm just going to add, absolutely. Uh, I will say that a lot of what we talk on the calls about is this. We give a federal update about what's going on in Washington and legislation that might come down the pike, and a lot of it mirrors some of the updates that we've sent out to you in the monthly update. But happy to provide that to you so you have that.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate that request. And I do want to really commend our chief of staff and our lobbyists for working together and really providing more details as to the meetings that you're having, the things that you're pushing for. I feel like that really helped with myself, and I think other committee members more understand exactly what you're doing. And I do appreciate you extending us the opportunity to provide you with priority issues. I feel like this is a major step in the right direction. So I really do want to say thank you to everyone. Is there any other comments or questions for the lobbyists? If not, I think we could move on. Seeing none, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. All right, moving on in the agenda, we have our state legislative update from Max Strategies.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. So, not unlike DC, it's kind of a August, pretty quiet month in the state legislative calendar as well. Few things that we did want to highlight. A couple of bills that were signed. House Bill 663. The Joliet Sanitary District transfer bill we had worked on, and the Joliet Arsenal legislation. Those were both signed into law by the governor this month. Those were House Bill 663 and House Bill 1364. Those had been in our updates to you throughout the spring legislative session and thereafter. Obviously presented to you last month on the 5th at this committee. A couple of other things. There was a few requests at the last meeting on a couple subjects. I'll start with one and turn it over to Ann on a couple of the others. There was a request about any updates on the RFP for Peatone Airport. They are still in the request for questions RFQ standpoint phase. It is my understanding that that is being extended out into the winter of 26. Just trying to snoop around a little bit, though, generally on the subject. It does appear that there is at least some level of interest in this developing this property at this point. Obviously a lot has built up generally in the vicinity around it, if not specifically with the intermodal I-80 and the CN, some other things that I don't know if maybe there's if they build it, they will come kind of mentality. At least there's a couple of entities apparently interested, at least one of which has some airport experience from a developmental standpoint. So whether or not that's, going to come to fruition, I think we're still a long ways away from. But it seems there is a little bit more activity than there had been. But we're still, they're still kicking out deadlines. The Department of Transportation is. So I think nothing imminent necessarily. Then with regard to summaries of transit bills, I'll just start out really quickly. As you recall, the Senate passed a bill to deal with the transit fiscal cliff in Cook and the collars. The House did not take that bill up. That That bill included funding with a real estate transfer tax in the suburbs. It would basically bring the suburban real estate transfer tax up to what it is in the city, so the city would not see an increase under that bill. And then downstate, well, statewide, the entire state, they were looking at a delivery fee being added for deliveries, Amazon and the like, with exceptions for purely grocery and purely prescription or medical. That bill ran into significant issues with the House. It's still in that form has significant issues with the House. There is not a whole lot new to report. The RTA did move some money over to the CTA in the last month and a half, and the CTA was under the most significant financial pressure to get this issue addressed. So that is, bless you, that is believed to take some of that pressure off the CTA and buy the legislature a little more time to try to solve this. As we sit here, we still don't anticipate a bill moving on this issue in the veto session coming up in October, 2nd and 4th weeks of October. But if you speak to House members, there is some increasing enthusiasm for the possibility, again, that the standard default is most people who want to see action in the veto session tend to be disappointed with rare exceptions. So that's it. I'd turn it over to Ann for any further follow-up on either of those two issues, and then also the third issue.
On the transit issue, I would only add that was an excellent overview. I think just where we are is there's a lot of disagreement still about a best path forward. And so to Matt's point about it being unlikely to move forward, we have been told directly by lawmakers that they don't think that the versions that were contemplated in the spring are what they're looking at this point or what they may be looking at. So it may be kind of a whole different vision of this, in addition to kind of understanding the timeline piece that he laid out with the funds being transferred and when they need to move on this quicker rather than later, and how long certain mechanisms will take to raise funds. So we will continue watching that process on your behalf and happy to answer any questions on that one. The third item that we were asked about last time was mental health screenings and the bill that had passed on that topic. It was Senate Bill 1560. It was signed into law in the early days of August. This is actually one step in a multi-step process, an initiative of the governor going back to 2023, and there were prior pieces of legislation on this. This bill that passed basically simply said that school districts need to offer mental health screenings, and that's it. So it doesn't say anything about what happens with the results of those. It doesn't lay out those interconnecting pieces based off of resources that school districts already have. So one question we were asked is how it's funded, and it is funded by the state. The school districts do not have to do anything until a statewide contract and screening instrument is paid for by the state. Who's performing it was another question that we were asked. And we were able to talk to some school management associations, contact folks to try to get better understanding, not just of the law that passed, which happy to send over a link to refresh people's memory. It's really only 2 paragraphs, so it's pretty simple language. So we sought out additional support to find out how it's being interpreted. And I think it's contemplated that this would be basically a survey. There is a school district that already does something kind of like this, that they're looking at modeling this after. So in terms of who would be performing it, it may be a survey provided to the students on paper by their regular teachers, especially knowing that not all school districts have mental health professionals on site. That is a question that is still being determined because the law lays out a series of timelines. And the first of those is that the year from now, the State Board of Education has to kind of work through these questions and provide a report on them. And so exactly how this is going to work, and then any of those consideration questions that have come up as regards to confidentiality, privacy, and data sharing. Obviously, there would be no contradiction with state and federal law as it exists right now in terms of protection of personal information, and also those policies that the school board ISB lays out as regards to when there's a threat of harm to self or others, how they go about an intervention. So those policies are not affected by this law. They would still have to follow those items. And so there'd be, I don't think, any anticipation that this would be shared outside of those strict parameters. Let's see, anything else? The last question we got was just the next steps after screening is done. And again, the bill itself is silent on that. So the bill does not require that there's any particular steps that happen after screenings are performed. In theory, the school districts that have mental health professionals and have resources that they offer now could use those screenings in order to help direct resources and connect students with those that they might need, but there's no mandate on that front. The bill does contain a separate clause as it pertains to the compilation of resources and training of hospital staff. The compilation of resources is again part of this multi-year initiative to better connect youth with mental health resources that the governor initiated and has a group working on. But those items have nothing to do, no mandate on the schools themselves. So that was a lot of detail to throw at you, but happy to answer any questions on that front, or happy to follow up by email if that's easier. So those are the main questions that we were asked last time on specific research items. Happy to look into other bills for you. And again, as Matt said, we're in this in-between period now where lawmakers are looking towards veto session and spring session of 2026 to see what they plan to move forward on next. Obviously, election time period is a little bit of a distraction for them, and so they're not meeting as regularly as it pertains to committees or working groups on some of these items, but we will continue to monitor those for you.
And it's a good opportunity, I think, for a reminder on, the sooner that we can all get together on the board's legislative agenda for the spring, the better we'll be positioned, I think, to have a working document that puts us in the best position to be successful advancing those interests.
Thanks, Matt and Ann. This is Judy. So Ann, thanks for that update on those questions that I had. I think they're great. From personal experience, I know that when a child is in school and they have an issue, they've been assigned an IEP. One of the issues that I see, and I don't know how to express this to others, is the process that goes through for the kid to actually get the services that they need. It takes, Dawn's laughing because she knows, it takes a long time to get the kid the services that they need, in which case during that time, the child ends up hating school, hating themselves, hating everything. So what input could we give you? And then I don't expect to give it today, but since we have Dawn, have been with school forever, and she's shaking her head knowing what I'm saying. What would be the best format for us to provide for you guys to express this, so that a kid, if it's identified, they shouldn't just be going through the process so they get enough ticks against them that they're now failing and hating everything? What can we do to show that we need to change the process so that the kid gets help sooner rather than later? Just looking for basic information. You don't have to have that answer today, but if you could provide that and send it to Chuck and then send it on to us, that would be helpful for us to put together something, because like I said, I had that personal experience myself with one of my kids, and it was exhausting for me because it's like I knew something needed to be done sooner, but he had to get to the point that it was really hard. Now, once he got where he needed to be, he did great. So I'm looking at how do we make that type of a change? That's the one thing. Thank you for the update on the airport.
And Judy, I'm happy
Yeah,
to
go ahead,
answer
Ann.
on that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So first of all, thank you for the question. I think it's fantastic. And I think bringing that personal experience is really, really, really helpful in this. I think the governor's initiative, multi-year initiative here, is based on those very same goals. Seeing gaps there in that sort of, step-by-step process of identifying need and filling need and connecting people to resources. So they are working on building the centralized resource beacon tool to identify what resources are available to help make those connections of where they are and where they are missing. And I think this bill was kind of a step further back of the screening part. And there's going to have to be further steps in this process in terms of taking those screenings and how to connect to those resources once built. So I think the experiences that you're having are excellent things that we could provide to your local lawmakers. We can provide to lawmakers that have leadership roles on committees working on this topic, and we can provide to the governor's office's team working on this as well. To the extent that you have specific ideas, I'm sure they'd love to hear that input of what kind of next steps could be in order to overcome some of the barriers that you've identified here as they looked forward to what next steps could be to make it a more seamless process. So we are happy to convey those if there's things you'd like to share.
Great, great. I will work with Dawn on that because she was in the school system. And of course, my kids, I went through school, obviously. And so we'll work together to put something together to give to you because had my son received services sooner, it would have been made everything much better, but services he finally got were great and he did well in school the rest of the time. So I have that. And then my other thing was just with the airport, I've heard that perhaps there's somebody interested who has airport experience. I've heard that before. Appreciate the information on that. So then my last request is regarding solar. Is there any opening that you're seeing for conversation regarding solar? So like for me, for personal situations I've seen where where a solar company buys the property versus leases the property, there's a difference there. In that if they lease it, they're leasing it from a landowner that had previously farmed, they might farm it. But if they're purchasing it, the land remains idle until all the permits and everything are done. So we need to find a gap in there. So I'm not sure who is best to talk to about that. And in addition to that, it's also, we see a problem with, I think we need to look differently at somebody who's leasing a farm parcel from a landowner versus a parcel of property that's zoned A1, but actually now is solar. Like what percentage of the land, we need to look at what percentage of land and possibly identify a different zoning classification altogether for that. So those are some ideas I'm throwing out there, situations that I've seen. So if you can kind of help with what you think you might need from us to have a more in-depth conversation with our legislators, I appreciate that too. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I understand, what you're looking for in that regard. When you talk about the gap with a solar entity, it's vacant land until that goes forward. What are you trying to solve for there?
So we need to have a plan in place that, let's just say they purchase this property, okay? So they may purchase the property long before they have everything approved at the county to build the solar facility. So what happens is they do nothing with the land and it stays and it just grows into nothing but a pile of weeds. So I'm looking for strength in the AIMA per se that if a solar company purchases A1 property to develop a solar facility, they must do certain things up front to maintain the land, such as putting in a cover crop, something like that. So it's well maintained. And if you do a cover crop, the advantage to that is now there's something there when they start to build, they could just cut it down and there's something that's keeping the ground together versus having just a naked open field that just had weeds that you've now sprayed that are all dead. So there's nothing there. So that would be a benefit to that. Because I see that happening out my way. I haven't been to every solar facility, but the ones around that I drive past, I see that happening. And so what we've done is we've had them spray it. they've killed it, then they've cut it down. So now it's just sitting there as a dead field, which was fine, but the cuttings should happen several times so that if they're not even doing a cover crop, that the weeds themselves don't develop a seed head. So looking for that, and I'm not sure who to talk with best about that, but that would be helpful there.
So I guess the first thing there is to determine, what latitude under state law does a county have or a municipality have before it's officially a solar field? Is it an entity that, are your hands tied by the statute from the date that an entity that is in the solar business closes on the property? Or does your ability to regulate get restricted only after the facility is up and operational as a solar facility?
Well,
And arguably there's a distinction, right?
right, sure.
The General Assembly has said, look, we do not want counties being able to inhibit solar expansion. So they limit your ability to say yay or nay about solar projects. Does that extend fully to that period before the solar project is live, and your ability to regulate land in the manner that you do now, just because it's an entity that's a solar venture that owns it? I guess that would be that'd be a question we can try and pursue and see what the general take on the law is there.
Yeah, that'd be good, because I think in the beginning with solar, it was all where the solar companies were leasing from a landowner. So it was a different responsibility. And only in the last several years, we've seen where the solar companies are purchasing properties now, because I'm sure paying a lease agreement for 30 to 40 years is not is not as good at the bottom line as it would to actually own the property up front and not have to pay that property, they don't have to pay that, just pay it up front. So I don't think that we thought about it back when we first began, because that wasn't happening. And this is what I see as something different. Maybe outside of Will County it did. I don't know. I only know what happened in Will County. So yeah, I'm just looking for that kind of help. So I don't know how to go about with that entirely, but maybe you can help with that. Give us some ideas.
Yeah, we can dig into that a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Member Butler?
Thank you. Okay, quick on the solar. I'm still confused as to how these solar facilities are being supported by Springfield. I mean, it seems to me that ComEd is not supposed to be for a profit, but these companies are coming here and selling for a profit. How did they get around that? I mean, how do these solar companies get to sell a power for a profit? I don't know if that's
ComEd is a for-profit entity.
ComEd is?
Sure.
Okay.
It's a publicly traded company that is a for-profit venture.
Okay, well, I stand corrected then. All right, and then the other one was for the airport. Wasn't there movement in Springfield to support alternative uses for that land and then they were just kind of put on hold to see if some investors were interested? What has happened with that?
I think everything other than the existing IDOT process is essentially tabled. I think they're trying to find the best use for that property going forward, and who's willing to invest in it in a way. It may or may not be an airport. There's been ample opportunity for people to come in and develop it as an airport, and no one has. It's still valuable land. One would argue it's even more valuable given all of the developments regionally around it. So perhaps something else comes in there. I don't know if they just haven't found the right fit with what state leaders want there. But it's clearly something that there has just not been a lot of activity or movement. Activity
Yeah.
there hasn't been a lot of movement towards actually developing the property over
I
years
don't know
and
if,
years.
I don't know if it's like something that goes on a lot where, the state or other counties come in and usurp land from other counties. I didn't know that happened a lot, but if anybody, wanted to ask people from Will County what they thought they could do with their land, I'm sure they would have a lot of good ideas.
I have no doubt. Yep, I have no doubt of that.
Is this a normal thing where the state or the, other counties will come in with ideas and just try to take big portions of a county's land? I mean, no one
I
from
don't
Will
think-
County voted for this.
I don't know that it's that unusual that a higher level of government will Bigfoot a lower level of government. The feds do it to the state. State does it to the counties and municipalities. That's not unusual. This might not happen all that frequently just because this is a more unique piece of property.
Wasn't this land first taken, wasn't it Chicago, the Cook County that tried to take this land and then they were turned, they were set, they got turned down, they couldn't be in control of it, and so then it was put in control by the state, but wasn't this a move made by Cook County?
I don't
initially?
recall. I don't recall one way or the other. I know it's in state control now. I don't know if Cook County at any point ever tried to do something with it one way or the other. It's been a long saga and a long history with this property. There's no question about that.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Member Hickey?
Thanks. Hi, couple quick questions. One is about the RTA, the transportation bill. I've seen a lot, and I'm sorry, but I've seen a lot on social media from elected officials about the condemnation, eminent domain aspect of this around RTA stations. I think it's like 1/8 of a mile. Is that aspect going to stay in anything? Do you have any idea? Is that something that's going to stick with the transportation bill, or is that just something that people are picking apart right now?
I
I'm
don't-
not. Go ahead, Ann. That's all right.
Yeah, I don't know specifically on that front, but we can go back and take a look at the original. There were some reports on which these bills were based and see if that was an aspect of it that was central to that. I think most of the talk we've heard lately has been about the funding mechanisms
Sure.
and how to make these pieces come together. So I haven't seen that as much on this piece, but we'd be happy to look into that.
Perfect. And then something that I'm learning about that I found some legislation on is kratom. And there seems to be 4 bills that were in the last session. And I just wonder if you have any indication if any of these are going to move going forward. It seems like there's some bipartisan support.
Not offhand. We can look into those. If you want to share that, we can find the bills, or if you have them and want to share
I
the
have
numbers.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
went
can
and looked-
certainly look into that and kind of assess where they did, how they did or didn't move this year, and get a sense of why that might be, and see if we can glean whether there's a likelihood for a different outcome coming up in 2026 for sure. Do you have general thoughts on it? Is it, and again, to the extent with some of the stuff, I would encourage, in the future, coming up, perhaps, these can be subjects for the board to consider for, the board's legislative agenda as well.
Right. I realize
But
I'm
in the
sliding
meantime,
those
we're
over.
more than happy to investigate for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So the ones that I've seen is HB 1303, HB 3215, HB 3217, and then SB 1570. And yeah, I have strong feelings about what I've read so far, and I've received some information from Dr. Burke, and I'm happy to share that with everybody. I went and looked at the witness slips. It looks like there's a lot of lobbying by the American Kratom lobby. So I'm just curious to see if that's something that in any way, shape, or form is going to be considered going forward.
We'll definitely dive in on that and get you an answer for sure.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Member Bullock.
Hi. So you talked school, so now you got me all riled up. So the mental health bill situation, I understand how state, federal governments think that because we have the kids for 8 hours a day and we are the central place that they can get their information from, that they drop all this stuff on us and go, yeah, do this, do this, do this, do this. Sometimes funded, sometimes not, all that fun stuff. I don't disagree with the mental health survey situation by any means, but based on kind of part of what Judy was talking about, if there isn't, so you said this bill passed, but then where do the details come from? Do those have to be another bill, or is there some committee somewhere that's just running with this?
So it depends on which details in particular you're looking for. So this bill passed, and it includes timelines by which the State Board of Education has to work out some of they're calling a model procedures and guidance for implementing this. And so that's going to talk through the confidentiality piece, the data sharing piece, communications, privacy considerations, things like that, as well as identifying that, making that contract and identifying that screening tool. So that's the piece they've contemplated. They've specifically put in this law that by September 1st of 2026, they have to lay out all those pieces in a report. If you're looking for the further details about the other question we were asked about what happens after a screening is done, the bill is silent on that. And I think the concept at this point is that it's up to the school districts and the resources they have at this point in time. Now, whether there's something that's done and enacted into state law to specify how those next steps are taken, or to fill the gaps that Judy was identifying before, laying out, building those connections once that centralized tool is built. I wouldn't be surprised if there's further conversations in the legislature about that, but at this point, there's nothing contemplating details on those.
You make me laugh. Okay, because the whole piece about, schools doing it with the resources they have or finding their resources, it's like you can't use our resources anymore. Like we we are up to here in resource use. And if this is something they're truly going to take seriously and do something with, then whatever comes from the state has to be able to fund additional mental health folks to be in the buildings. Most buildings, if they're lucky, have a full-time social worker, and that's about it. And then maybe a nurse in the office, who neither one are specifically qualified to deal with whatever comes back on a mental health survey. Who's going to be looking at those? Like you said, I get this is part of what's going to be laid out. And then the protocol for the follow-up, if you do not tell every school in the state what to do with those forms and what the next step is, you're going to have every district doing their own thing, and some of it's not going to be pretty. So there's got to be, you got to tell us what to do with those, who gets to see them, where do they go? The other thing I wanted to ask you about, is there an age range in this mental health survey? Is it K-8? Is it K-12? Is it
It's
6,
3 to
12?
8.
What 8?
Grades 3 through 8.
3 through 8. Nothing at the high school level? Because that seems like a miss.
See.
Although they do some things. They have I forget what it's called, but
I'm sorry, I misread. Grades 3 through 12.
okay, thank you. 3 through 12 is good. That's good. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that there's this thought process somewhere up above, that because we're all in the school together, we can do all the stuff you tell us to, but that doesn't happen.
We hear you. We hear you. Yep. The unfunded mandate piece is very difficult. There certainly are other bills in the legislature right now about trying to reduce those. There always are because it's a tough spot to be in. And as per your other comments in regards to, the state is funding the screenings, it's paying for the screenings themselves, but the desire to increase funding for additional mental health professionals or resources for schools specifically. Again, if that's something that you choose to put in your legislative agenda, that might be a concrete idea if you wanted to add that.
And paying for the survey, let's just be honest here, if it's some electronic component for the kids to do, okay, you're going to pay for that program for every school district to use it. Cool. But if it's a paper survey, are you really going to send every district money for the paper they use to run off that survey? Like, that's kind of a loose little, yeah, we're going to pay for the survey. Really?
Let alone, as you referenced, the teacher time and the class time.
Member Berkowitz.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz. Ann and Matt, going back to solar facilities and that bill, one of the things we identified back in land use when these projects started coming forward was that this legislation prevents us from zoning these parcels appropriately. There's a reason why these solar facilities, these producers are purchasing ag land because it's less expensive. But the county, we miss out on that. That land the property taxes are lower than it would be in a commercial or an industrial parcel. And this legislation does not give us the ability to rezone that land so the county can get the correct type of property tax levy. I think that's a conversation that needs to go back to these state lawmakers. The county's falling short with this. This is just another way that it's hurting our county and the residents that in these rural areas. Has there been any discussion about that?
I'm not aware of any discussion at that level since they passed that bill a couple years back.
I'd like to bring some type or start that discussion because quite frankly, this is not an agricultural use. And the county should have the ability. We don't let commercial people come in and build in a residential area if the land is not zoned appropriately, and it has an impact on our bottom line.
Yeah, I think this is an example of what we've talked about with this issue, from the beginning of our time representing you, is that to the extent we can find things within this statute that are reasonable modifications that don't undermine completely the legislature's intention, which is for them to keep more control over this development than you. Maybe there are ways to whittle it back. And that could be an example of it. Again, my suspicion is that state lawmakers that are very supportive of solar development see solar development as having a difficult time monetizing and advancing, especially with recent federal legislation. And to the extent that what you're proposing is going to make it more expensive to expand solar in Illinois, I have to warn you, the General Assembly is not likely to go along with that.
I understand that.
That being said,
Yeah.
You've got a countervailing issue, which is, property taxpayers. And if you can make the argument that a solar developer isn't an agricultural use, And to the extent that you're allowing the solar developer to pay taxes at the rate of agriculture, you are asking the rest of your taxpayers to pick up that difference for that solar developer. Maybe that's an argument that enough legislators would be willing to consider. That's the type of issue, though, that for us, when we go back to talking about the legislative agenda, these are to the extent Will County's board wants to do something legislatively on this, it's got to be with the approval of the majority of the board as part of that legislative agenda.
Yes, but, and that's an excellent point. And I think moving forward, though, everything with this legislation was supposed to be reasonable for both parties, for the solar industry, reasonable for the county. And this is an issue as more land is farmland is transferred over to a solar facility use that has an impact on our financial burden. And that directly goes in the end to the taxpayers. So I think we need to be able to have that conversation. We are all responsible to our taxpayers, even at a state level. So many people are very aware of the subsidies in this industry. And that also is a form of taxpayer funded assistance. So I guess that'll be something that we should talk about in our legislative agenda, and we'll make sure to work on putting that forward. But let us know how we can have that conversation, because I know counties all over the state have expressed similar concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other comments, so we will let you go for now. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks
Glad to
very
help.
much.
All right, moving on in the agenda. We have discussion developing draft 2026 state legislative agenda. I am going to ask for a motion for this item to be removed from the agenda. We were not able to put all of the proposed amendments together, so I think we just wait until we do have all of those inserted and then we can go. Motion by Butler, second by Berkowitz. Any discussion? Yeah.
Under infrastructure and land use, I posed a question and it's still in there and it's just staying in there, which I just want to clarify why I asked that question.
You asked about the status of.
Yes, meaning that we're putting something out in 2025 that has a date in it of 2023. And so it's saying what the readiness planning efforts are expected to begin in early 2023 and last approximately 14 months. We don't need that in there. It's 2025. The date was 2023. We just need to either wipe it out or.
We can have that discussion, I feel.
No, but like, it's not, I'm not trying
No,
to,
no,
it's not a discussion. It's just, that's why I put it there. So it either strike that line or fix it. That's all.
Got it.
That's it. Yeah.
Great.
Otherwise, everything else looks great.
Roll call vote, please. Or previous roll. Second, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, the item is removed. Postponed until next month.
Or until special committee meeting. I don't know if you want to.
Well, that's why I decided to remove it, so that way we can just put it back on whichever meeting we. Okay, moving on in the agenda. Developing the draft 2026 federal legislative agenda. Okay, so myself and the chair have discussed how we're going to go through this, and there has been some concerns that there's a lot of additions in here, a lot of stuff to go through. So we're going to open this up for discussion. I know there's been a lot of discussion before in previous meetings where people are saying, there's kind of back and forth on stifling discussion. I really don't want it to be that way. I will allow at least 5 minutes per each member to discuss on this. And if you want to go second round, another 5 minutes. But I don't think spending 15 minutes on each discussion is really necessary. We will go through these line by line. And we've decided that majority will determine whether this is going to stay on the agenda or if it will be removed before going to full board. So if it does not pass this committee with a majority of the vote, it will not go on to full board. Yes.
So I think we should have a discussion. Destiny, you should make the decision is how many items will we go through today?
Okay.
Because it's already 10 to 2. So maybe we go through the first 2, 3 pages, 4 pages, or items, 1, 2, 3.
Community development, housing, and economic workforce development.
We could do that. And then we could do the next ones the next time.
That sounds good. That sounds good to me.
I'm fine with 10 minutes.
So pick a time. We'll go until, how long can you stay?
Thank you so much.
So maybe till 2:30, Destiny. If you want it, that sounds good to you.
Does that sound good? All right, we will try to get through this as fast as we possibly can. If we have to cut it short and then schedule another special meeting, we'll decide at that point. Everybody okay with that?
Do you want to go till 2:30?
Just about. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say too, that we've got additional stuff has come in, additional
Wait,
items.
she didn't put you on yet.
Or I'm not.
Oh, your mic doesn't show it here. Huh, okay.
I have additional items that have come in from the health department as well that came in last week per the deadline that we had established. They didn't make it onto the agenda for this month for both the state and the federal agenda. I'll get them out to you by the end of the day today, and then we can move forward with those, at the next committee meeting.
I would expect that departments do that as we move on. That we just set a deadline to try and get the most in. So that's good.
All right, let's dive in. So the first item up is the racial equity impact statement. Do I have to read this line by line, or can I just ask if there's any questions, comments, concerns? Ms. Berkowitz?
Thank you. So I would ask that this just be completely removed.
Okay.
And there's reasons why, if I need to share that. I don't think racial equity has a place because it's a concept. And it's something that's overused. It's not appropriate. It isn't going to change population bases. So I know I understand the intent, but I would like this removed.
Member Brooks?
I would probably prefer to see it stay because I think that racial equity impact statement has been weakened over the last year or so. And I don't think it's being abused now because it almost doesn't exist in a lot of areas. So I think it ought to remain in its entirety. Put an acronym CO.
That's my initials.
Oh,
That.
that ought to be removed.
Thank you so much.
No, he said remove DO.
Are there any other comments?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
So for me, equity means one thing, equality means another, and I like the word equality because that includes everyone. It doesn't pick out one group over another group, and I think everybody should be considered the same when we're making sure that we are looking at infrastructure, housing, economic investments that reduce disparities rather than enforcement. So it could be a small town, right? Not considered because they're a small town. Community may be all white, which would not be considered whatever. But I think a small town deserves the same respect as others. And if we look at, like, there are places we have that we're all aware of, like Fairmont, for instance, comes to mind because it's one socioeconomic group. But so looking at them, we know we need to help them out there. We need to do what we can to improve things in those communities. So I think if we look for equality, then we're not like limiting, in my mind anyway, to one specific group over another group. So that would be mean. I don't mind what it actually says here. I just think rather than equity, use equality, because to me, it's more inclusive. That's my opinion.
Racial equality, that's the.
Strike equity, sir.
So if I may, thank you everyone for the comments. The reason why I put this in here is because I believe that this insertion ensures that federal funding addresses historic inequalities, as we heard some members speak on, so that infrastructure, housing, economic investments, they close the gaps instead of widen them, that create fair opportunities across the county. And as far as the equity versus equality, there's this little picture that always comes to mind, and I know a couple people already know which picture I'm going to talk about. It's a group of 3 kids who are trying to see over the fence to see the fireworks show. And so in the first one, it's equality, and all of them, they're too short to see over the fence. So all 3 of them get just one little kind of step stool to see over the fence. However, only one of them can see over the fence because he was kind of tall. The other 2 who weren't as tall as him, even though they were still given the same step stool equal, they're still not able to see over the fence. So equity is making sure that everybody has the tools that they need so that they can see over the fence. So the really short guy gets a little bit of a taller step stool. The guy who's, kind of mid-stature, he gets like a decent one. And the guy who doesn't even need a step stool because he can see over because he's tall, he doesn't necessarily need one. So that is where equity versus equality comes in. So I wouldn't be in support of changing that language. But again, please feel free to vote however you please. If you would like it to be removed, simple vote no. If you would like it to say, a vote yes, and we can go
So
second.
I just want to say one more thing with that. One more thing I want to say is, so when we went through CARES and ARPA and everything, okay? There were a set of rules that came with those dollars, right? And so certain areas ended up getting way more funding than other areas. So I'll look at Eastern Will County. I've got a lot of small communities out there that we were overlooked because we didn't have the racial difference as other areas, but we don't have, they're not highly, the income level isn't high there. Some neighborhoods perhaps are a little higher than others. That's everywhere. But we were overlooked in Eastern Will County because we don't have the same numbers of diversity in race. So for me, it wasn't even, because why should, we already don't get as many services out in Eastern Will County because there's less of us out there than other areas. So I felt that that was inappropriate for us. We weren't given a fair opportunity to be chosen as other groups were, simply on that. So, I mean, I see what you're saying, but this is from what my experience was on that particular situation.
Member Rickles.
Chair Ortiz, thank you. So in the real world, today, we have a generation between 20 years of age, or 18 when you're considered an adult, to 65. 65 is the median age apparently for first-time homeowner in Illinois, which is startling. And that generation, even though they work, even though they're law-abiding citizens, they can't go out and buy a house. You need 2 incomes today to be able to afford housing. So to be able to say we want equality, we have to look at the real world today. We got a lot of people who would love to own a house and they can't do it and they're people who aren't living on unemployment. They're people who are working. But the job market's changing, the world is changing, and opportunity in America has changed. Having a house in America is no longer the American dream and a given. And therefore you can't have equality or equity. These are all factors that are impacted by so many different things that are beyond our control here at the county. And so when we went to Washington one year, basically, we had legislators tell us, we don't read this. There's so much stuff here. It's so big. We don't read this. We take it, we say thank you, and we put it on our desk and we don't read it. So in the real world, it's a great idea, but it isn't reflective of what we can do. So if people want to vote to keep it in there, I guess the vote is the final word. But I think in the legislative agenda, we were told by our legislators, keep it short, keep it simple. And at the end of the day, that's far more effective. So I won't be supporting keeping this in. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Williams?
Yes, I think that even though I agree that maybe some of our issues are harder to put forward in the federal legislation. However, this is about what we think is important. And I think that racial equality is important because what comes to mind for me is separate but equal. So you can have a separate school over here and they have the same number of books, but you have a school over here that has the better books, even though the number is the same. So separate but equal and equity and all of this comes to mind that equality is important. And if we want to address the racial component of it and deal with that issue as far as what member Ogalla was saying, I do think that maybe in some instances, the rural areas do get left out. So I agree with that part of it too. But I think that racial equality, I mean, I grew up in Fairmont and I do believe in Will County, a lot of African Americans ended up in the towns and the spaces that they were in because of redlining. We couldn't go anywhere else. So we had to live wherever we had to live. So had the equality been there, we would have been able to live in different places besides just the underserved areas that we were relegated to. So I think it's important if we think that this is an issue that needs to be highlighted. And I think it's important that we do highlight that. And we do have these issues here in Will County.
Member Brooks?
Madam Chair, in the state of Illinois, there's a county called Kankakee County. Within Kankakee, there's a village called St. Anne. And Kelly, I guarantee you this, if you get in your car and drive from Naperville to St. Anne, you'll see why language like that exists. And even though St. Anne is on the top 10 list of state of Illinois cities, not because of high crime, not because of the wealth, because more indigent families live there than anywhere else in the state of Illinois, they claim. So I think the language ought to stay intact, whether you vote for it or not, is your conscience. But there's reasons why, as I said before, and I'll say again, across the country, this statement has been weakened and reduced to almost zero. So I think here in Will County, we all show some kind of compassion for those within that language. I will vote to keep it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Butler?
So I'm unclear. Do we have a motion on the table to change and to remove equity and put equality?
I don't believe we do have a
I would like
motion.
to make a motion to remove equity and put equality in the two areas where it refers to that.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we got a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second discussion.
We're just making a motion to change the wording. We'll vote on that and then we're going to vote on the whole thing.
Yes.
And here's the thing, once we're done with the whole thing and all the changes, and Chuck can keep up with it, it's going to come back to us for us to look at again, because it is very important, and these are a lot of ideas. Destiny is a new chair. She's doing a really great job at learning. But we do want to make sure, once we look at this, we want to say, okay, maybe under community development housing, this is just maybe, we want to look at these two and we want to highlight just affordable housing. That's our main concern. Because when we give too much to our representatives, it's too much. But I think starting out with 1, 2, 3 items over everyone under each is good to start with. And then we'll look at it afterwards and say, okay, now let's see what we can do to pare it down. Because it makes sense to send 4 things that are very important rather than 12, or, whatever.
All right, so we've got a motion, we've got a second. Any further discussion on the motion? This is to change the word equity to equality. Seeing none, can I please have a roll call vote?
Ogalla,
Yes.
Berkowitz,
No.
Brooks,
I say yes.
Bullock,
This is to change.
Yes.
No.
Butler,
Yes.
Hickey,
No.
Ortiz.
No.
Motion fails.
All right, so we are back to the original motion. We could go ahead and take a roll call vote if there's no further discussion. We already got a first and a second. We got a first and a second.
I thought we just got a first and a second.
For the original motion, do we need another first and a second, or can we just?
I think you just had a motion to change the wording. You didn't have another motion to vote on the original.
Okay, can I get a first and a second?
So
I was gonna say, I'm not sure that that's accurate, but okay. Because we wouldn't have even discussed it if it
Yeah, so the way you've got it on the agenda right now, it's just kind of the whole thing
is discussion.
is discussion. You're just kind of really taking straw polls here to see. So I don't know that formal motions or anything are, if you just want to take roll call votes, I think at the end then will be, as we've amended this, is this what we're going to bring back to the county board?
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So Kevin, so for us to change a word like we did, we can vote on that.
Right. I don't think you need specific motions. I think this is more of a
Informal.
back and forth. You guys are kind of workshopping this right now.
Okay, sounds good.
What's your thought on?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chair Ortiz. Okay, I want to share with the committee, if you go back to finance, review the item, and there's no way to toggle in between meetings anymore, which is very difficult on this iPad. But Samantha Markham had a presentation on the agenda today. And this was regarding the funds for the housing, okay? In her report, read that report. In her report, and I'm trying to remember the amount of dollars they received as a federal grant, so it came to the county. They allocated it. They determined who received the money, the county, and then the money was given to certain recipients. If you do the math with the amount of money that the county got, it went to over 1,009, I think it was 1,991 recipients in Will County received this grant money. If you do the math, that's about $8,700 per family. Now, not every family received the same amount of money. And it also went not only to pay rent, but it also apparently went to pay HOA assessment fees that were overdue. But if you continue to read her report, it indicates that the majority of those funds in Will County went to African Americans. And I just want you to all take a look at that report, reflect on it. And my point is that I believe we are already doing this. I believe that we have a process here. And again, the reason why I'm sharing this is because we have been told that keep it short, keep it focused, and we'll get a better result. The legislators will read it. So again,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
So you just have to say thoughts on this, take a quick poll over done section here. So now you want to know as much as we can the same.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
So is it okay that I still call for roll call votes, even though it's like very informal?
We just take an informal roll call vote. Plus, this is.
All right, Perla, can you help us take an informal roll call vote for this item?
Or just the original one?
For the original item, yes, please. All right, so we're voting on the original item.
Just an informal vote on it. Yes?
Yeah, there's no requirement of a script.
Yeah.
Motion.
Yeah, it's not a motion, we're just kind of stating an agreement.
Ogala?
So, I'm gonna be a no.
Berkowitz?
No.
Brooks?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Butler?
No.
Hickey?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Motion fails.
No.
What was the number?
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no's. And then there's 2 yeses.
And again, it's not really a motion, but this was for the original motion, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This was for the original motion to see, or the original language in this, who supports the original
Right.
language?
Right.
Mhm.
And so I've got member Ogala, member Butler, and member Berkowitz said, we don't like the original language. And then I've got members Brooks, Bullock, Hickey, and Ortiz saying we like it. So that's what would.
I think that when Dawn answered, her voice was a little low. It sounded like a no. I think that's where the mistake happened, because I thought you said no too. But I did think you said no too, so.
Okay.
I was sitting.
Said yes? Okay. I heard no.
She was, yeah.
Okay.
Really that quiet?
So, ready to move on.
Yes, thank you.
Now we're in trouble.
All right, moving on. The red line under affordable housing. Questions, comments, discussion? I guess I don't need a motion in a second. Do we want to just take a informal roll call vote?
So I understand the intent of this whole paragraph.
Mhm.
However, housing that is affordable isn't going to happen if we continue to have municipalities or county, if the land is unincorporated, vote, confirm projects. Land use committees. These projects that are built.
Sorry, I turned your mic off, sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
Housing that's being built today, the projects that, and the pricing ranges is approved by the local governments, not the federal government. They go before the municipality and the city council votes on it. And if it's a luxurious residential development, the municipality has the power to say yes or no. And I imagine with unincorporated land, if a developer like Rock River comes before us, we vote on that project. We have the power right now to determine what the price is for housing. And we're seeing it in Naperville. They keep saying, we need more housing that's affordable. But they keep approving multi-million-dollar houses. At the end of the day, this is the process. This is the procedure. So I think we need to be talking to our neighbors and as voters and residents, we ought to be talking to our city council members and saying, we need more neighborhoods that aren't, $1 million houses. So again, it's just common sense. It's the way government works. And again, I understand the intent of this language, but that's not the real world.
Thank you. Member Hickey?
Okay, real quickly, and I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring up where it says reduce barriers. It's in the, the second line. I was at Sprinkler Fitters a while ago, and I stood and saw the demonstration of when the thing goes up and melted my false eyelashes to my eyelashes because I was too close. Anyway, that's a long story, but I'm very concerned about if that means loosening like zoning requirements. I'm just curious. I don't know. I'm not saying that I want to make more obstacles to low-cost housing, but
So I think, for instance, for something like this, let's just say we wanted, because we're only talking obviously unincorporated, right? Because that's what we govern over. So if we wanted to approve an affordable housing subdivision, right, to allow that, it would be a zoning change that we'd have to have at the for land use, we'd have to do a zoning change to allow a home, tiny homes, small homes, because tiny homes are on gut hole, wheels or no wheels scenario, you know that from land use. So small homes to allow them, but we cannot allow that now if you think about
ADUs.
mobile homes,
Oh,
right? Mobile home
okay.
communities. The problem with the whole thing with that is we can't control rents. So that's an issue. So I have a lot of friends that live in mobile home communities out my way. Their rents are up to $900 a month. That does not include water or sewer or anything.
Okay, but I wasn't talking about the market. I was just talking about the need for safety and just making sure that if we include this, that it isn't construed to be that we're saying, hey, loosen up all the regulations.
Oh, I don't think that's, no.
Okay.
No,
All right, I just wanna make sure.
I wouldn't
Thank
take it to mean that. Yeah, no.
Member Richmond, did you?
Thank you. You talk about affordable housing. Let's just say a $400,000 home, put 20% down, you put 40,000 down, you got a $360,000 mortgage. Your mortgage payment is about $2,000. But your tax bill, property tax bill, is going to be between $667 and probably $750 to $800 a month. Affordable housing has moved to Alabama. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day. He said, Jim, I'm selling my place. I'm moving down to Alabama. My property tax bill will be $1,000. So now he's down to what, $80 a month? I mean, many times it's not the cost of the home or the mortgage on the home. It's the property tax that represents a third of their payment, which is insanity. That's what we need to be focusing on when you talk about affordable housing is how do we drive down the property tax bills around here? So just,
I agree with you, Jim. That is the thing. If a developer comes in and they want to offer whatever for a house, a small house, let's say. But the property taxes keep going up, which is really driven a lot by your school district because that's the biggest part on your bill. How do you keep the rent affordable? I don't know how. My son was living in a small town out south, and he moved because the rent was going up to $1,900 a month. And he was living in a mobile home community. It was just not feasible for him to continue to stay there. So he's moved back in our area, back home. It's really affordable living there. But it's that's a problem. So how do we do that? Keep it affordable with the property tax bill? Every single taxing body has to hold the line.
I agree. I look at my dad, 95 years old.
Or changes
His
it.
property tax bill is over
School funding.
$7,000 a year.
Yep.
I can tell you how that gets paid.
Yeah, school funding changes.
Mr. Butler?
They need
Yeah,
more
so-
money.
I guess before I can vote on this, I need to know what creation of what policies, what type of policies are we talking about? Are we talking about like making zoning for Section 8? What is that? I don't know what that means. Creation of policies that reduce barriers. What type of policies will we be making?
So really my thought process behind putting this forward was to ease the housing shortage problems that we have in Will County, to stabilize rental prices and to help working families stay housed. I think Kathleen Burke would like to speak. Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring some understanding of how I perceive this. So we work a lot with individuals who are under-resourced, not working or working. We work a lot with those folks who have no homes in this community. And there's a lot of them. And there's a lot of people who can't afford. And I got to tell you, I pay $1,900 for a one-bedroom apartment in Lockport. Okay? So that means I can't afford to put any money away to buy a house. So I know you said Section 8. I think what happens is the builders.
Just asking.
No. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking, the builders, they don't have any incentives to put in low-income housing. From a federal standpoint, what I've seen is HUD and those agencies incentivize people to build those homes. So I think that's how I interpreted this, not what kind of homes we were talking about, but rather more access to those who are trying to get into the market, but you have to have places for them to go. And they can't even afford a rental now. So, sorry.
Thank you so much for your input.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz. But all of these subsidies come from the taxpayer. So the taxpayers are funding all this. So DuPage County, their voucher program, it's a voucher. You can rent any property you want. It's all taxpayer funded. Taxpayers have paid this is on their tax bill that goes eventually over to DuPage County, and then they distribute these tax dollars in the form of a voucher. And what I also learned was it's a pretty good program because you can go online with your voucher and shop the properties that are available. And I pulled up a property. In fact, I was looking at this because my mother was, we helped take care of my mother because she didn't have enough money from Social Security to afford her medication and things like that. So I said, let me take a look at this voucher program. And you literally can go on a website, and they had a beautiful, I don't know what they called it. It was one of those 3-story, like you see in the South Loop, like used to be, we had in the South Loop in Chicago. And this townhome had granite countertop. I mean, it was gorgeous, a bathroom I would die for. And it was available with a voucher at a certain amount. And I called the DuPage County clerks or the DuPage County's office, and I said, help me to understand this program. How does somebody rent this beautiful home? Well, the allocation they get is based on.
I appreciate your.
No, I'm sharing it based on family size, et cetera. So if you have 2 or 3 children, you'll get more money. But my point is at the end of the day, this is all taxpayer dollars. It isn't just free.
Thank you.
And at the end of the day, it's hurting people who are struggling to stay in their homes. Some of these people are elderly, 70, 80, 90 years old, and they don't know where they're going to be in a year. So again, real facts. I think we need to just have a real conversation.
Thank you. Last comment?
Yeah, I think we should just strike the creation of policies because we don't know what those policies are, but that we support construction of new affordable units that reduce barriers to multifamily and non-congregate shelters. I think if we're going to put policies, maybe I would feel more comfortable being a little more specific, so I knew exactly what it is I was agreeing to. But I do agree that we should, help for lower income because honestly, that applies to pretty much everybody now. I mean, my nephew, everybody I talk to, I'm paying my mortgage off for the third time. That's with all the interest and stuff. Everybody pays. If you buy a $300,000 house or a $350,000 house with 3% interest, you still pay over $1 million for it. It's ridiculous. But I think we're all in that, fall in this category. So I think just maybe if we don't know what those policies are, or we can't direct, maybe it'd be easier just to pull that part out and leave the rest in.
Do we want to vote first on removing the language, creation of policies, and then voting for the entirety of the insertion? Is that okay?
Can you just be clear what it is that we're?
Okay, I would strike the creation of policies.
Okay.
And then just say, Will County supports construction of new affordable units that reduce barriers to multifamily. So basically, you're just striking the creation of policies.
All right. Let's do our little informal. Do we want to just raise our hands? Yeah, can we do that? Okay.
So are we?
All right.
is it just strike?
The part that says the creation of policies, but everything else stays.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of striking the language, creation of policies, please say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4. Was that 4? All right, the ayes have it. We have strike that language. All right, now we are going to vote on the entirety of what is left of that. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, 1 opposed. The motion carries, it passes. Okay, moving on. The economic and workforce development. Are there any
Something to say
questions?
about that.
Yep, go ahead, Mr. Butler.
I cannot agree with the one statement in here.
Okay.
Expanded OSHA enforcement. That has got to go.
Okay,
Remove that.
okay, Julie, would you like to make a comment?
How many small businesses were consulted with this?
I don't think there were any.
And I have a question about this particular bullet point. Before the red line, is this from the county executive's office?
The
I would assume it was
WIOA, I believe that was already in, that was like in our previous, that's already been in the lobbyists put this together. They consulted with department heads.
Anything that was in, or anything that's redlined, I slipped into the text of what was originally in the first federal agenda that was approved and passed.
I'm asking if small business has had a voice in this, because most small businesses will tell you they don't want obligations to the federal government. They will go out of business if they have to answer to the federal government.
This was on the prior legislative agenda, the federal legislative agenda. So it's an issue that would have been asked or addressed during last year's development of the federal legislative agenda. What we're talking about here was the proposal, the red line proposal by Chair, I believe, Ortiz, and then supported by Member Bullock as well.
Can I get a clarification of joint employer standards?
I'm gonna have to Google that one for you, my guy.
I just want to know what that means. Sometimes you get phrases in here and you're just like, I'm not sure exactly what that's saying. Joint employer standards. Does anyone have any idea what that means? Okay. Huh?
Well, so a month to make something at one time, but what does it mean now?
Joint employer standards define when two separate companies are legally responsible for the same group of employees, requiring them to share control over essential terms of employment such as wages, hours, supervision, and working conditions.
Two separate companies. Are they talking about unions or?
So it says,
One company can't pay them less.
How can you do that? It's all, the company is basically on what money they have the ability.
Are those unions?
Yeah.
Are they talking about unions? Like, because I mean,
I don't think you.
if you have a better company, does better work, and you have to pay your guys more than the next company,
Same workers,
they're employing the same workers.
these two companies.
So laborers, like a laborers union or something?
Situation, yeah.
Okay.
This guy's gonna pay me this much, but this guy wants to pay $2 less now.
But if you're union,
Microphone on.
oh, yeah. Thank you, Tim. We went with the free, and then we forgot all that.
Okay, do we want to take an informal vote on taking out the OSHA
I
expansion?
just think all of it out. Federal paid leave and medical leave.
Member Book.
Chair Ortiz, when did we talk about, I guess, the original paragraph, not the red line?
What would you suggest? When do we want to discuss not the red lines?
You can talk about it earlier.
Okay, so this is a,
Can you wait until after this one and then we can discuss?
This was approved.
well, we're
Let's
talking
do
about
this-
it now.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We're talking specifically about the red line. Once we're done, then we can discuss the
Oh,
paragraph.
okay,
Is that okay?
okay. So is it to leave it in or take it out? Is that what?
So
we're
right now, we are discussing whether or not we want to leave this in. We've had a suggestion on taking the OSHA expansion out, if that is still,
Yes, I definitely,
I-
that's,
okay,
I'd like to just take it out.
okay, well, that's
take
what
out
we're
the
voting
red.
on next.
Take it out.
Take it out.
Dan-
Red line.
Yeah.
Okay, for those in favor of taking out the expanded OSHA enforcement, say aye.
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 All right, sounds like only two, so I don't think that's gonna pass. And then all those in favor of keeping this in, this red light, keeping it in, signify by saying aye. Aye. I hear two. All of those opposed to keeping it in, signify same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, that one's taken out.
The whole thing is.
The red.
The red is a limit.
Yes, correct. Okay,
Entire resolution?
yes. Okay, Julie, now if you
Okay.
would like to
All right,
discuss.
thank you,
Yes.
thank you. So, underneath the red line section, when you go to the, in the same paragraph, go down to the second sentence, it says the WIOA programs are intentionally tailored to ensure that residents and employers of Will County are the focus of federal funds and that there is necessary flexibility, et cetera, et cetera. You know, a lot of people will tell you they don't want to be the focus of the federal government. They don't want the government telling them how to run their business. They don't want ties. I know a lot of companies, they don't take any federal money because they would not be able to.
Are you suggesting that we remove this language?
Well, I don't like they're the focus of federal funds. What does focus
So
mean?
this, so Julie, this is a federal grant that we get through the
I know.
Workforce Investment Board. That is their role. They get those federal dollars to help train residents, whether it's
Yeah.
me or you or whoever, for whatever type of skills we might need. Anybody can go there. Anybody can go there and take a class. They can get the resume done, all of that. So it's pretty available to anybody.
So that's only within the realm of that grant.
And for
Exactly.
rural county, yeah, employers, not
Excellent.
others, because other counties get grants as well.
Member Hickey?
Yeah, just real quickly, the black text, that was in last year. So that was under your committee last year. That went through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, it
So
did.
I just want to make sure that we all understand that.
I think it-
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next red line, Will County supports, and I think we're gonna probably call it after this one.
Yeah, the next red line is also eliminated. It's duplicative.
Oh.
I just wanted to move that, shift that one around. So that-
Okay, so
all
that's
found,
removed.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Perfect.
Oh,
Yes.
Now the last one.
All right, Will County supports increased funding for Minority Business Development Agency. Discussion.
So my only issue then with that, of course, is promote equitable access to capital. Just promote access to capital.
Did you want to remove?
I would remove the word equitable.
Okay, let's take a vote on removing that word equitable. All those in favor of removing the word equitable signify by saying aye. Two. Was that 2 or 3?
That's 3.
Okay. Then it's staying. Stays. I think raising your hand would be better. Okay.
Yeah, it's too hard. Some people.
I'm like, who said something? Okay, that language is going to stay now. Any discussion on keeping it entirely, or can we just take the vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of keeping this red line in, please raise your hand. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, have it. All right, it's passed.
The red line, keeping. No,
You change the word?
no.
Oh, I take it down, take it back.
Okay, it still passes.
2 pages there, buddy.
Woo!
That's good.
Actually, I think we have time for one more.
Asian carp?
Yes, Asian carp. You want to stop right there?
What did you say, an hour or 30 minutes?
No, we said like
She can stay
2:40.
on. She can go. She
Wait, if
wants
you
to
guys
go
want to
more.
keep going, we can keep going.
She likes Asian carp. She wants to talk about them.
I don't think this one's gonna be, I don't know. Okay, you know what? Because you guys are crazy. Yeah, we should stop. That's what I was just gonna say. Okay.
Are you gonna try to schedule another?
I think we should.
Okay.
Yes.
Start the discussion.
Okay. All right. Before we leave, I want to take a kind of a poll. Do we believe that we are going to need a special meeting sometime in September to finish the discussion of the federal legislative agenda? All those in favor of having a special meeting? I know.
Really?
Yes.
I'm willing on a Tuesday or a Thursday.
Okay, all those. Okay. Third Tuesday. Well, I think if we're, okay, so it sounds like we are in favor. If staff wants to just then go back and try to find a,
Hold on, let me look at it.
1, 2, 3, the 16th. Weren't we doing
The
something?
6th, there's a special fight.
There's already a special finance committee.
Special fight.
Special finance meeting starts at 10.
So 10, you want to go at noon?
Do we want to do that?
What day are you talking about?
I don't know.
We're giving it 3.
Maybe 1?
What day are we talking?
The 16th,
September 2nd.
after the special finance meeting.
What about Thursday?
What about the 4th Tuesday, the 23rd?
23rd is like,
What's wrong with the 9th?
The 9th of October?
The 9th is October, next week.
Oh,
the 9th.
We're here anyway.
The 9th we have,
To run the whole.
the 9th of September is a Tuesday, correct?
yeah, we have public health and safety and,
No, we don't.
Ad hoc ordinance from 9 to 11. So we can go, so ad hoc ordinance has a hard end.
Mhm.
So we can go even, and they're 9 to 11. You could schedule at 11 if you want to. do it.
that works for me.
Okay.
Works for me, yeah.
All right. All right.
The 9th at 11. Well, okay. This is the most unruly meeting we've ever had.
That's all right. Isn't right? There you go.
Very cordial. We don't agree, but so what? We have that.
I think ordinance might have wanted an extra hour. I'm not sure about that. They did not. Okay. So it's 9 to 11. So, okay.
Okay.
So we're good with that?
Yep, that works for me.
We'll get it on the schedule.
All right. Thank you so very much.
I'll put both items on there. I'll put the state
Perfect.
and the federal, and you
Thank
guys
you.
can vote again to take the state off.
Okay. Okay.
But it's fine.
Yes. All right. Moving on to the agenda. What
Yeah,
meeting?
you have other agenda items.
Which meeting?
Think, how long do you want to do it? An hour and a half or 2 hours?
Just about 2. Okay. All right, moving on. Other old business, seeing none. Does anyone have any new business to bring forward? Seeing none? Any? Do you have a discussion?
Is this new business?
New business, yes.
Yeah, I would like to add it to the agenda.
Okay. You'd like to,
There for next month.
oh, okay,
Why
okay,
don't you-
okay.
If you got something you want to write up, yeah, you send it to me and then I'll get it out on the, to the
Putting it
committee.
down for the next meeting.
Okay.
No.
That's what I was afraid of. I was like, Jesus, no. Okay. All right, any public comments?
Remembered I was supposed to say something during that.
Anybody here from the public wishing to speak? Going once, twice, 3 times? Announcements by the chair have none. No need for executive session. Motion by Brooks to adjourn. Second by Bullock. All those in favor? Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Next meeting is scheduled for October 7th or September 9th at 11.